The fading sun cast a golden glow across the endless fields of Prairieville, a small, sleepy town surrounded by flat, sprawling farmland. At the edge of a dusty road, a weathered house with chipped white paint and sagging shutters stood quietly against the horizon. Inside, Anna Reynolds, a young woman of 20 with weary eyes and hard-working hands, sat at a rickety kitchen table. She sifted through a growing stack of unpaid bills, her shoulders slumped under the weight of responsibility. From the next room, the harsh sound of her mother's coughing broke the silence. It was a sound Anna had grown used to but never learned to ignore. "Anna," her mother called faintly, her voice strained. "Can you bring me some water?" Anna pushed the bills aside and hurried to the sink, filling a glass with water from the creaky faucet. She carried it to her mother's bedside, offering a gentle smile. Her mother, frail and pale, took the glass with trembling hands. "You need to rest, Mom," Anna murmured. "I'll handle everything. Don't worry." But her own words felt hollow. How could she fix this when the problems seemed insurmountable? A low rumble of an approaching car caught her attention. Anna glanced out the window to see an unfamiliar black sedan pulling up to their home. The sleek, polished vehicle stood out starkly among the battered pickup trucks typical of their area. "Who's that?" her mother asked, her voice tinged with both curiosity and apprehension. Anna didn't answer, instead stepping onto the porch as the car door opened. A man stepped out, tall and impeccably dressed in a tailored suit. His salt and pepper hair caught the evening light, and his measured stride radiated quiet authority. "Miss Reynolds?" the man inquired, his deep voice steady. Anna folded her arms. "That's me. And you are?" "Martin Alden," he said smoothly, offering a slight nod. "I've heard about your family situation and thought I might be of assistance." Anna's brows knit in confusion. "How do you know about us?" "I make it my business to know," Martin replied cryptically. "And I have a proposal for you." "What kind of proposal?" Anna asked warily. His gaze didn't waver. "Marriage. To me." For a moment, Anna thought she must have misheard. "You're joking." "I assure you I'm not," Martin said evenly. "I'm offering financial security for you and your family. Your mother will receive top medical care, and your brother's schooling will be fully funded. In return, you'll be my wife." Anna stared at him, trying to process his words. "I need time to think." "Of course," Martin said, his tone calm. "But I must have your answer soon. Time is not on either of our sides." He tipped his hat slightly before returning to his car. As the sedan disappeared down the road, Anna remained on the porch, her mind racing with questions and doubts. Later that night, as the household grew still, Anna sat alone in the kitchen, the dim glow of a single bulb casting long shadows across the room. Her mother's voice startled her from her thoughts. "Anna?" Her mother stood in the doorway, leaning heavily against the frame. "What did he want?" Anna hesitated, then explained the proposal. Her mother's face twisted in disbelief. "He can't be serious," she said, shaking her head. "You can't do this, Anna." "But, Mama," Anna argued, her voice trembling, "this could save us. You'd get the care you need, and Liam could stay in school. What other choice do we have?" Tears welled in her mother's eyes. "I don't want you giving up your life for us. You deserve more than this." Anna looked down at her hands. "I don't know if I can afford to want more." The days that followed were heavy with indecision. The weight of Martin's offer pressed down on Anna, each passing moment making her choice feel inevitable. When her mother's health took a turn for the worse, Anna finally made up her mind. The morning of the wedding was quiet and gray. Anna stood in front of a mirror in a borrowed dress, adjusting the veil with trembling hands. Her brother Liam appeared in the doorway, his suit too big but his face earnest. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Anna nodded, though the lump in her throat made it hard to speak. "It's for the best." The ceremony was small and formal, held in the parlor of Martin's estate, a sprawling mansion perched atop a hill outside town. The house was as grand as it was cold, with gleaming marble floors and towering ceilings that seemed to echo with emptiness. After the vows, Anna was led to her new room, a modest but well-furnished space in the East Wing. Mary, the stern housekeeper, gave her a thin-lipped smile as she showed her around. If you need anything, just ask, Mary said. But some doors are better left unopened. Anna's curiosity was piqued, but Mary offered no further explanation. In the days that followed, Anna tried to adjust to her new life. Martin was distant, his time consumed by business matters he refused to discuss. The mansion's grandeur did little to comfort her. It felt more like a gilded cage. One night, unable to sleep, Anna wandered the halls. She came upon a locked door in the west wing, its heavy brass handle cool under her fingers. As she stood there, she felt a presence behind her. "You shouldn't be here," Mary's voice broke the silence. Anna turned, startled. "Why is this door locked?" "It's not for you to know," Mary said firmly. "Go back to your room." As the days passed, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that the house held secrets. Her unease grew when she overheard hushed conversations between Martin and a mysterious visitor, a tall man with piercing eyes who arrived late at night. Anna decided she couldn't live in ignorance. Determined to uncover the truth, she began piecing together the puzzle of Martin Alden's life and the mansion's many mysteries. "Make sure she doesn't suspect anything," Martin said, his tone sharp and commanding. Anna's breath hitched. Was he talking about her? What was he hiding? The car disappeared into the night, leaving Anna standing in the shadows, her thoughts racing with unanswered questions. The mansion was eerily quiet as Anna crept through the east wing. 4 days, she had watched the mysterious locked door, waiting for the right moment to investigate. Tonight, inexplicably, it was left ajar. Her heart thundered as she stepped inside, the faint creak of the door magnified in the stillness. The room was dimly lit by a dusty chandelier that swayed slightly in the draft. Shelves lined the walls, crammed with old books, documents, and framed photographs. At the center of the room was a large oak desk, its surface cluttered with stacks of yellowed papers and an ornate ink pen. Anna hesitated before stepping closer, her eyes scanning the space for clues about Martin's secretive behavior. Her gaze fell on a photograph atop the desk. It showed Martin standing beside a young woman, smiling stiffly. The woman was strikingly beautiful, her features delicate and vibrant, and she appeared far younger than Martin. Turning the photo over, Anna read the inscription scrawled on the back: "Martin and Elise, 1999. Her hands trembled as she rifled through other photos on the desk. Each one depicted Martin with a different young woman. The dates spanned decades, and though the faces and names changed, the pattern was unmistakable. Among the photos were legal documents, marriage licenses, financial agreements, and, chillingly, death certificates. Anna's stomach dropped. The causes of death varied, from accidents to sudden illnesses, but the pattern was impossible to ignore. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Her hands brushed against a worn leather journal lying at the edge of the desk. She opened it, finding pages filled with Martin's precise handwriting. The entries detailed his relationships with these women, recounting how he had charmed them and gained their trust. As she read further, the tone darkened. The writing described manipulation, control, and, ultimately, abandonment, or worse. Anna's pulse quickened as she read a line underlined in bold ink. "They always think they can escape, but they never do." A noise from outside the room made her freeze. She hurriedly slipped the journal into her bag, her heart hammering in her chest. Before she could move, the door creaked open, and there stood Martin, his eyes cold and piercing. "What are you doing in here?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. Anna clutched her bag, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "He got lost. I didn't mean to intrude." Martin stepped further into the room, closing the door behind him. His presence felt suffocating as he scrutinized her. "This room is off-limits," he said, his tone like ice. "I told you that." Anna swallowed hard. "I was just curious about why so many rooms are locked. You never tell me about your past." "You don't need to know about my past," Martin replied curtly. "You need only follow the rules." Finding her voice, Anna pressed, "What happened to them? The women in those photos. Why do they all disappear?" Martin's expression hardened. "That's none of your concern. Stop asking questions, Anna. It's for your own good." "But I deserve the truth," Anna said, her voice trembling but defiant. "Am I just another one of your possessions?" Another wife to disappear? For a moment, Martin's face softened, almost as if he wanted to explain. But the cold mask returned. You're my wife now, Anna. That's all that matters. Don't make me regret my decision. His words sent a chill through her, and she realized how precarious her situation had become. Feigning submission, Anna nodded. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have snooped. Martin watched her carefully before stepping aside. Good. Now leave and don't come back. Anna hurried out, her bag clutched tightly to her chest. She felt his eyes on her until she rounded the corner. Back in her room, she locked the door and sat on the bed, trembling. Pulling the journal from her bag, she flipped through more pages, her hands shaking as she read the detailed accounts of lies, manipulations, and cover-ups. One phrase leapt out, written in bold script across a full page. They think they can leave, but they never will. A knock at the door jolted her. She stuffed the journal under her pillow and froze. Mrs. Alden, Mary's voice called softly. Are you all right? Yes, Anna replied, struggling to keep her voice steady. I'm fine. Mary lingered for a moment before her footsteps receded. Anna waited until the house fell silent again before retrieving the journal. She began formulating a plan to escape, but her thoughts were interrupted by the faint sound of footsteps outside her door. The handle rattled slightly, then fell still. Anna, Martin's voice called softly, menacingly. Are you awake? She held her breath, her pulse pounding in her ears. After a long pause, the footsteps retreated down the hall. Tears stung her eyes as she clutched the journal tightly. No matter the risks, she knew she had to find a way out of the mansion before it was too late. I'll leave the journal with the authorities, Anna said firmly. They need to see what he's done. Mary clutched Anna's hand tightly. Promise me you'll get out of here. Don't look back. Anna nodded, determination eclipsing the fear bubbling within her. The night arrived, and over dinner, Martin kissed Anna's hand, his icy smile sending a chill down her spine. Don't wait up for me, he said, his tone dripping with false tenderness. As soon as the front door clicked shut behind him, Anna and Mary set their plan in motion. Mary staged a heated argument with one of the guards near the front gate, pulling his attention and ensuring the security camera's focus shifted. With the journal clutched to her chest and a small bag of essentials on her back, Anna slipped unnoticed into the basement. The hidden door to the passageway loomed ahead, and Anna ducked inside, the heavy door closing behind her with a muted thud. The narrow tunnel was damp, the faint smell of earth clinging to the stale air. Her footsteps were muffled, but each step felt unbearably loud in the tense silence. As she moved deeper into the passage, a sound froze her in her tracks. Footsteps, heavy and deliberate, echoed through the darkness. Her pulse quickened as a voice called out, sharp and menacing. Anna, you can't hide from me. It was Martin. Her breath hitched as she pressed herself against the damp wall, extinguishing her flashlight. She strained her ears, her heartbeat thundering in her chest. I have to keep moving, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of her own fear. Summoning all her courage, Anna pushed herself forward, her steps quicker and quieter as Martin's voice echoed behind her like a predator's growl. The faint moonlight filtering through the cracks ahead was her beacon of hope. Finally, the tunnel opened into the dense woods surrounding the estate. Anna stumbled out, her lungs heaving as she sprinted into the underbrush. Branches tore at her skin, but she didn't stop. Behind her, flashlights bobbed in the distance as Martin's guards fanned out, their shouts breaking the stillness of the night. She couldn't have gone far, one yelled, his voice nearing. Anna's lungs burned as she pushed herself harder. The journal was her lifeline, her weapon against Martin's dark empire. Just as her legs began to falter, she spotted headlights in the distance. A car was approaching along a secluded road. Without hesitation, she stumbled toward it, waving her arms desperately. Help! Please stop, she cried. The car screeched to a halt, and a man jumped out. He was in his early 30s, his sharp eyes scanning the darkness before landing on Anna. Are you Anna Reynolds? He asked, urgency lacing his voice. Yes, she gasped, clutching the journal to her chest. But how do you know me? I'm Jack Harris, an investigative journalist, he said quickly. I've been following Martin Alden's trail for years. Get in, We don't have much time. Anna didn't hesitate. She climbed into the car as the sound of approaching footsteps grew louder. Jack floored the accelerator, and the car sped off just as Martin's guards burst from the woods behind them. A black SUV roared onto the road in pursuit, its headlights glaring in the rearview mirror. "Hold on," Jack said, gripping the wheel tightly. Anna looked over her shoulder, her fear mounting as the SUV closed the gap between them. "They won't stop," she said, her voice trembling. "They'll do anything to take me back." "Not if we can get this to the authorities," Jack replied. His tone was calm but resolute. The SUV pulled alongside their car, and the passenger window rolled down. A guard leaned out, wielding a crowbar aimed at their side mirror. "Get down," Jack shouted. Anna ducked as the mirror shattered with a loud crash. Jack swerved sharply, sending the SUV skidding off the road and into a shallow ditch. Without hesitation, he floored the gas, the car rocketing toward the city. Anna's hands trembled as she opened the journal, flipping through its damning contents. "This is everything," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Names, dates, details about how he silenced them, it's all here." Jack nodded grimly. "With this and what I've uncovered, we can finally bring him down. But we have to act fast, he won't let us get far." As the city lights came into view, Anna's phone buzzed in her bag. The screen showed a text from an unknown number. "You think you've escaped, but this isn't over." Her blood ran cold as she showed Jack the message. His jaw tightened, and his grip on the wheel firmed. "He's desperate," Jack said. "That makes him dangerous. But don't worry, Anna, we have the truth on our side." Anna nodded, her resolve hardening. "Let's make sure this ends now." Anna's hands tightened around the journal as the city skyline grew larger through the windshield. The oppressive darkness of the forest had been replaced by the glow of streetlights, but the shadows of fear lingered. She glanced over at Jack, whose focused expression betrayed the tension simmering beneath his calm exterior. "Where are we going?" Anna asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "To the federal building downtown," Jack replied. "I've been working with a contact there who specializes in cases like this. Once we hand over the journal, Martin won't be able to hide anymore." Anna nodded, her mind racing. The journal in her lap was both her shield and her burden, a lifeline against Martin's influence, but also a chilling testament to the lives he had destroyed. The weight of those stories pressed heavily on her. The car jolted as Jack swerved to avoid a speeding SUV barreling through a red light behind them. Anna's heart leapt to her throat. "They're still coming," she said, her voice rising in panic. Jack's jaw clenched. "They won't catch us." The SUV was relentless, weaving through traffic to stay close. Jack veered down a side street, tires screeching as the car skidded around a sharp corner. Anna gripped the door handle, her breath quickening. In the rearview mirror, the headlights loomed closer, and she could make out the determined faces of Martin's guards. "We're not going to make it," Anna said, her voice trembling. "Yes, we will," Jack said firmly. "Trust me." As the car burst onto a major thoroughfare, a flash of blue and red lights lit up the night. Police cruisers sped past in the opposite direction, sirens wailing. Jack's face lit up with determination. "Perfect timing," he muttered. He grabbed his phone and made a quick call, his voice clipped. "This is Jack Harris. Target vehicle spotted. Southbound on Main. Move in now." Within moments, the street erupted into chaos. Police cruisers appeared from side streets, cutting off the SUV's path. Anna watched as the pursuing vehicle tried to swerve, only to slam into a barrier. The guards inside scrambled out, only to be met by shouting officers with drawn weapons. Jack exhaled sharply. "That should buy us enough time to finish this." The car sped toward the federal building, and Jack parked hastily outside. He led Anna inside, his hand on her back as they moved through the brightly lit hallways. Anna felt a pang of relief as they reached an office where a serious-looking woman in a tailored suit was waiting. "Agent Daniels," Jack said. "This is Anna Reynolds. She's the key witness." The woman's sharp eyes softened as she extended her hand to Anna. "Miss Reynolds, you're safe now. Let's get this evidence secured." Anna handed over the journal, her hands trembling as she let go of the damning book. Agent Daniels flipped through the pages, her expression hardening as she read. "This is exactly what we needed," Daniel said. "We've been gathering evidence on Martin Alden for years, but this journal is the smoking gun. With this, we can move forward." Anna let out a shaky breath, the enormity of what they had accomplished sinking in. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt a sliver of hope. The following days were a whirlwind of statements, legal filings, and media coverage. The arrest of Martin Alden shook the nation. Headlines branded him as a manipulative predator, unraveling his carefully constructed facade. Anna found herself thrust into the spotlight, hailed as a hero for her courage in exposing him. But the attention was bittersweet. The weight of the lives lost, the women silenced, bore down on her. Jack stayed by her side through it all, his steady presence anchoring her amidst the storm. At the trial, Anna stood tall as she testified, recounting her harrowing experience. Her voice didn't waver as she described the lies, the control, and the threats Martin had used to entrap her and others. The journal's entries corroborated her story, each damning detail sealing Martin's fate. The verdict came swiftly, guilty on all counts. Martin Alden, the man who once held her life in his grip, was sentenced to life without parole. Justice had been served, but the scars he left behind would take time to heal. As the courthouse emptied, Jack approached Anna, his expression a mix of pride and relief. "You did it," he said softly. "It's over." Anna smiled faintly, a tear slipping down her cheek. "We did it." In the months that followed, Anna used her settlement money to start over. With Jack's help, she opened a support center for survivors of abuse, naming it Second Chances. The center became a beacon of hope, a place where women could find safety and empowerment. Anna's story didn't end with the trial. It became a testament to resilience and the power of truth. And as she stood at the opening ceremony of the center, surrounded by women whose lives she had already begun to touch, she felt something she hadn't in a long time: peace. For the first time, Anna wasn't running. She was standing tall, ready to face whatever came next.